Irish Times leads with Gordon Darcy's column. To get up off the floor, Ireland must dig deep into what went wrong. So he wonders, with absolutely no insight to the inner workings, he admits, of a tight-knit group, did they become too close? Can there be free commentary between peers if the working relationship is blurred by friendship? So sliding doors, this is something that perhaps you brought up before as well. Joey does not leave Leinster. Joey Carbery doesn't leave Leinster. This is a kind of potential hypothetical from Gordon Darcy. So Stewart Lancaster conjures up an attacking strategy that was less about numbers on backs and more about ensuring Sexton and Carbery keep defences guessing. So basically Joey Carbery at 15. Joe Schmidt, it provides so irresistible that he adds to his creative spark to the new dual threat, and Ireland's attack becomes as unpredictable as it is deadly. That could have been the impetus for Joe Schmidt to actually transform or come up with a better game plan or kind of an alternative game plan this year if he could have seen something in his own provinces that was doing the trick.
Right. I mean, that was exactly what Leinster wanted at the time. They wanted him to stay. And they could have put him in the team straight away. There would have been ample opportunity for us to try this. We got to the point where we tried Robbie Henshaw at fullback, who hasn't played fullback since his Connacht days, and even then it was very rare that he was playing compared to the amount of times that he played centre. So they clearly wanted to give themselves an option of somebody else as a receiver, but we never once looked at that in an Ireland context, even though Leinster, who, bear in mind, had Stewart Lancaster, who's clearly a brilliant coach, saying this is what we should be doing here, we should be trying this out. And we didn't listen to the coaches. I think part of the problem is as well that you have this top-down system where the people who have access day-to-day to the Ireland players, their opinion, I'm sure it's listened to, but it wasn't acted on in this particular instance where, you know, Leinster had created this player and saw a future for him and wanted to create something which would be very different from what we have, and Ireland went, no, we just need another 10, we're going to do this, and we've decided this is what's going to happen.
Carbery wanted to be a 10 as well, though, didn't he?
But, I mean, he says that, right?
If he's playing like Bowden Barrett, though, he probably wants to be a 15. And
what if, you know, I'd say Bowden Barrett probably wants to be a 10.
Yeah. But he also wants to be a World Cup winner, and he wants to be part of the best attack in the world. So I did get the sense, though, from Carbery, though, that there is a clear hierarchy in terms of his love for rugby connected to his position. Almost scoffing at the idea of being a scrum half or a 12 when it was brought up over the course of the World Cup. Carbery himself, because he was essentially the sub-scrum half for what game was it, the Russia game?
Yeah.
When Murray was out, I think. So, I just think that when it comes
But at the time, right?
Okay, so at the time it's different.
Yeah, at the time.
Because he's found his love for 10 this year as well, let's not forget.
Yeah, and, I mean, the track record of Irish players who were centres who became wingers, or who were wingers who became centres, were like, well, no, I'm playing this specific position because that's what I won something at some underage level, and then 15 caps in, they're like, I'm actually world class in this position. This is great. So the need of the player and the need of the national team can sometimes not be aligned. I don't know. I think it's an excellent point, and I think it's the type of thing that now we're never going to see because that moment has passed. But we're not a country that has ever really had and taken the two great 10s that we have and put them in the team together to see what happens. Every other country in the world has tried this, and frequently they've either used it for a long period of time or they've had it in their back pocket when they need it.
And we're going to see it in full flow this weekend. Ford and Farrell up against Moonga and Barrett, and Sexton and Carbery potentially could have been an unbelievable option for Ireland. That could have been... The question might not have been Joe Schmidt identifying that Sexton was coming off his peak, and therefore perhaps removing him or taking minutes back and kind of replacing him. The identification would have been that he needs help in his backline. We need to reinvent Sexton coming off his World Player of the Year, calendar year. We need to actually transform his game a little bit or give him a bit more help, because not only have Ireland put themselves in the crosshairs to be figured out by everybody as the best team in the world in 2018, there's also individuals that put themselves into the crosshairs. Jonathan Sexton is target number one because he is World Rugby Player of the Year. So, all of this is just so easy to say in hindsight, but it is definitely a lesson for the future. It is definitely a lesson that if Ireland get themselves into a position 1 or 2 years out from a World Cup where they look like world beaters, it is just so far away from the summit when it comes to success in the biggest tournament of all.
Yeah, I think, though, the key thing is that you've got multiple ways of doing things, that you're not just a single prototype of play. And it was interesting over the course of the tournament that Schmidt was asked about what's his philosophy. And his philosophy is to try and win games. Essentially, he was like, I don't have a philosophy. I respond to what the opposition are going to do, and I build a game plan that's going to beat them, which is like what some of the greatest coaches in any sport in history have always done. They've been able to beat you whatever way you were going to... Because most teams aren't evolved to the point that they can do a variation of things to you. Most teams have a very simple, we've got these good players, we're going to use those good players to do the things they're best at, and we're going to defend like hell. In any sport, that tends to be what happens. But the great teams and the great coaches are like, well, if you do that, I'm going to just attack your weakness. And I know how to do that because I've given all of my players all of the available information that they are required to make decisions in a short space of time that are going to allow them to do that. We didn't seem to get to that point, really. We seemed to actually have a style. Like, despite what he said, we did seem to have a very specific way of playing that required us to win collisions and that required us to have high intensity pressure and great line speed. And if any element of that was missing, we lost games. And when the form disappeared, we lost a load of games. So I think that the key lesson is to make sure that you've got multiple styles of play and that you're able to go into them. And that if we were, like, you know, at one stage it looked like we might be about to try Carbery in the centre over the course of the tournament, and then it didn't happen. You're like, well, I mean, I wouldn't have been against it. I just think that we could have tried it 18 months ago. We could have tried it last year. We could have tried it at Leinster for a season and gone, let's see how this works.
Yeah, like if you're going to have control over the provinces...
What's the point of it?
Yeah, at least have that control in terms of...
especially when they want to do it.
Tactically influencing, yeah.
They're saying to you, look, we think he's actually a fullback. Let's do this.
But is that the light we need to be looking at now in terms of 2023? The guy who... I don't want to give Stewart Lancaster too much credit here. He's not the guy who identified Carbery as a potential 15. I'm sure that there was other coaches who said it, like Graham Henry spotted him as an ex-potential world-class player. But the cohort within Leinster that exists as potential future Ireland coaches is one and two men. It's like Leo Cullen and Stewart Lancaster. Like, should there not be some sort of succession plan put in place right now that, with a view to 2023, if Andy Farrell is a success, you're getting the band back together, you're getting Farrell and Lancaster back together, and if Andy Farrell is a disaster, you've got Stewart Lancaster lined up as your next Ireland head coach. That, like, Farrell gets a 2-year stay of execution no matter what goes wrong, because I think he probably deserves that, because the part of me kind of feels a little bit of sympathy for him picking up the pieces now. Granted, his defence got absolutely slaughtered last weekend, to perhaps try something new. If he's trying new things over the next 2 years, I think Ireland fans will give him a bit of forgiveness.
He's got a clean slate, really, I think. As a head coach, he's got a clean slate. It wasn't his team, it wasn't his philosophy, it wasn't his training style. He was the defence coach, and granted, they had a really bad day, but like they've had good days in the past. So,
but Stewart Lancaster is the best coach on the island of Ireland, working in the island of Ireland right now. Like, I really believe that. Why they would not perhaps be looking at him now, thinking next World Cup, France, he could potentially be involved in the Ireland
setup. Because he could get a head coaching job in the meantime.
And then it's up to us to ensure that that is preempted and that we see that coming. Like, we missed a lot of things coming in this World Cup. Let's not make the same mistakes. And when it comes to personnel, let's not make the same mistakes. Losing Razzie Erasmus was kind of an uncontrollable because he's South African and there was this patriotic call to arms. England aren't coming back for Lancaster.